All right, it's time to talk business. On this episode, we are talking about how you can future-proof your business regardless of the administration and federal government contracting. So go ahead, push play, and I'll catch you on the inside. Welcome back, BOMU besties, to another episode of She Built Success. I am your host, Claudia. Now, before we get into it, if you have not already subscribed to She Built Success on YouTube, please do so. And if you are on audio podcast platform of your choice, go ahead, hit the subscribe button. And while you're there, leave a review. Okay, so let's get right on into it. I promise that this season we'll be talking a lot about government contracting for small business, and I am holding up my end of the deal. So here we go. As a small business, no matter who is in administration, I want to give you some insights into how you can administer your small business to work with the current administration. Current, future, I can't say past, but I'm going to tell you how. So at the time of this recording, there's a lot of things swirling around and a lot of different, I'll say, orders being made and policy shifting and agencies responding accordingly. Even in the private sector, there's some echoing of what's going on in the public sector and the government space. And I think sometimes as small businesses, the perception is, oh, shoot, how am I going to make this work? Or there is worry. I have been getting asked a lot of questions from other small businesses. Is your business okay? What should we be looking out for? What do you think, things are going to be happening going down the road for the future? So I kind of want to address some of it. Now, I will preface this or disclaimer this by saying I am not a political savant or genius, or that is not my space. However, as a small business who does business with the government, I am sure and make sure to stay abreast on things like executive orders, on OMB memos. That's the Office of... It's the budget office. The M ain't coming to me right now. And on things like presidential memos. So I do try to read and understand what's happening so that I can make sure my small business is in a position to be in a good light in terms of continuing to do business with the government and look for different opportunities that come about. Now, that being stated, my company is in IT, so we do things like data analysis, we do program and project management, we do consulting with data visualization training. So for us, when we do work with the government, we typically work in the IT space. Now, I know, I might get some, cloud is here and infrastructure, things like that are in place. And so it's not really going to go anywhere. Digital transformation is happening. And yes, those are all true. And you may say something like, well, I'm not in that industry. So, how can I future-proof my business? I'm going to help you. Here we go. I'm going to give you a real example. So right now there is an opportunity or I'm trying to say this with some tact, but there is a request for everyone to return back to work. We've seen it in the private sector a little bit, with different large Fortune 500s, putting that mandate on. And then now we're seeing it in the public sector. And as such, previously there was a point where in the public sector, so in the government, they were like, you know what? We don't need all this commercial space that we're leasing. Let's just go ahead and put it to the side. We don't want it anymore. We're gonna, however we rearrange that and terminate those leases, or whatever went down for that. But nevertheless, because of post-pandemic and during pandemic, a lot of that was shrunk down because everybody was obviously had to stay at home and stay in place. So a lot of that property that the government was leasing kind of, I'm not gonna say just went away because it didn't go away, but it was no longer being used or being occupied, right? And so that's one way to trim. And then contrast that to where we are at this present time, which is, okay, the request is for folks to go back to the office. And it's like, okay, well, what are we gonna do? Because now here's where the opportunity lies, or potential opportunity lies. Because if you're in the commercial space, for instance, so you do commercial real estate, you may have an opportunity to put together a proposal or respond to a solicitation where they are looking for space to house employees, because up until, from 2020 forward, it was kind of like there was some go back to work, some might do a couple times in the week. They would go physically in the office and the rest remote. But now it's like, okay, well, all 5 days of the week you need to be here. And I think that there's opportunity in the commercial space. So if you do commercial real estate, to potentially lease that out. Now, of course, it's going to depend on where you're located and depend on the need and things like that. So there are some, research points that you would need to go do your due diligence on. But sources like SAM.gov, FPDS.gov, those are really good places to look for potential solicitations. Even going back in the past and looking at, trends to say, okay, well, what was the real estate that was being requested before, and what did that contract look like? And like you can actually look at some of that information, high level, but you can look at some of that information. But that being stated, I'm going to go with this whole thread of returning back to work. So we just talked about commercial properties being an option. Another option is if you are a food vendor. So let's say you have a restaurant. Now, again, not my space, but if you have the licensing and whatnot that you need in the food industry to open up or operate as a restaurant or an establishment, there may be an opportunity for food vendors to now populate these buildings, whether it's existing federal buildings or potential future commercial buildings. So that's food vendors. The other one is, well, we have these buildings, we have the food vendors, we now need to clean them. So if you do things like janitorial services or cleaning services as a small business, you may be able to, get those kind of contracts within the different buildings for said agencies. The other one that I thought about was maintenance. So of course, we're here with the commercial buildings. We now have food vendors in place. We now have the cleaning staff in place. Okay, well, stuff still got to run. Things still got to work. Things will break, So there's the maintenance, I call it maintenance crew, but there's the maintenance aspect of it. And then the other one that I thought about, and this is all centered around potentially returning back to work, is if you are a small business that does security services. So think like, not Secret Service, no, not that, but think like you need to, security, it's like night watch and stuff like that. Then that would be a potential opportunity because you would need to make sure the building is secure and, people badge in properly and credentials are issued and God forbid something go down, but you're there as a security agent to, respond in kind as a small business. And all of this is in the house of, potentially going back to work and having these buildings to have to staff accordingly. Because during pandemic and up until post-pandemic, it was, the staff that was there maintaining the buildings and whatnot, while they were still there, it shrunk back. And so, and to even say that, there may be existing contracts that's what you can do to kind of start looking for where you could potentially fit in as a small business, especially if you're like, I call it a micro business. So you're like a team of like a few, like 3-4 people. You can look at who has the contract now or who has had the contract and potentially reach out to them to partner and provide people resources or, whatever lane you fit in. Maybe, it might be in vending. I would say if you're in vending, reach out to other vendors who have done it and get their take on it, and so that you can know and be ready to respond should that need come about. I'm going to say this. I don't think you should let an administration dictate how you run your business. I think you need to have your business set up in a way or be thinking in a way that allows your business to be future proofed, regardless of if the administration, regardless of who's in administration or who's in office. Yes, policies come about, policies change, things change, laws change from administration to administration. But first and foremost, take the personal out and look at it from a business lens and how can you, in a positive light, use this to your advantage. I think that a lot of the fear or concerns around the instability of from one administration to the next sometimes overwhelms, and then you would shut down and not want to do anything. And that's not the way to go, especially if you're interested in doing federal government contracting or even just, state and local. But right now I'm specifically speaking in the federal market, is being able to just stay ahead, stay abreast. A good resource for if you're a news-ish junkie is Federal News Network. They're very, or Politico. I don't think they're one and the same. I know Politico from the DMV area, but from many years ago when they first started, when they spun off from WTOP. But anyway, neither here nor there. The point is just, stay abreast on what's happening. You don't have to, like I said, up at the top of the podcast, I am not a political expert by any stretch of the imagination. But it really is. I have been looking at it from the lens of small business and what does that mean for my small business and how can I make sure that we're aligned with the right opportunities should and when they come about. So I'm just trying to give you like a real example, like real tangible this happens and this is how you can respond, versus being like, oh, I give up, I can't do this. No, I really, small businesses will still need to be here. I'll look up the stats. I don't know off the top of my head, but small business revenue within the US is ginormous, as far as like what they produce. So just keep that in mind. And I think that if you're looking to get into government contracting, but you're not quite sure where to start, hit me up in the DMs or shoot me an email, or we have voicemail on SheBuiltSuccess.com, so you could ask your question via voicemail, and I will get back to you. I will get back to you, not somebody from our team. If you leave a voicemail, I get back to you regardless. It's me. My team helps me parse them, but I will get back to you and get you an answer, or answer on a live, or answer here on the podcast. But I really want you to not be scared, to understand what's happening and how your business can fit in that pocket. I think that now more than ever, we need to be proactive instead of reactive. I think right now the climate is very reactive and fearful. And I don't want you to try to set your business up in a means where it's set up for failure. So I'm going to recap some of what you can do. So you can go to FPDS.gov and SAM.gov and look at procurement and opportunities. You can go to news sources like Federal News Network or Politico to get an idea of what's happening agency to agency. Something else I want to talk about that I can't remember if I've talked about it in past episodes, I'll bring it up now, is Google has this thing called Google Alerts. And let's say you're focused on, I typically advise 3 agencies a quarter. So 3 specific agencies a quarter to, potentially do business with. Set up a Google alert and you'll be able to get notifications on agencies like the Department of Education, or like the FDA, or like the big umbrella of HHS, or, whatever agencies you're targeting. And think about how you can, again, be proactive and kind of look at their requirements, look at what their strategic plan says. Again, from administration to administration, things change, but the plan, the requirements, what's needed, I think that's important that you know what it is so that you can be able to position your business to respond accordingly. When you put yourself in the light of being able to know what's happening, or kind of understand what's happening, I believe that you'll see the breadcrumb trails a little bit clearer so that you can get to that next contract. And when you're looking at things like executive orders, whether they're new ones, old ones, past trends, like all of those presidential memos, OMB memos, like all of that helps to inform, I believe, which way you move as a small business. Now, I'll talk about the differences between that on another episode, between the OMB memos, presidential memos, and executive orders. But right now, I really want you to look at your business, look at the services or products that you offer, and see how you can align with whichever administration is in office when you're listening or watching this. I think that, and when I say align, I'm not saying like you need to be their cheerleader. This is, again, business, not personal. It's business. Like, you still need to make an income. You still need revenue. Like, that is how a business runs. Otherwise, you shut and shop, right? So keep that in mind. Don't approach it in a sense of fear. Yes, there are personal feelings regardless of which side of the aisle you stand on. I think I got that quote right, I think. But knowing that you are trying to grow your business with, or line of business in federal government contracting, is imperative to understand what's happening underneath it all. You don't need to be a political expert. I'm not a political expert, but I do read. I do get feedback from the community, both on the government side as well as other small businesses, to help inform my next steps. I don't believe we're going to be going out of IT anytime soon, but I do think it's important to understand where you as a small business can potentially fit in. Finally, I want to say this, because I feel like sometimes we get overwhelmed when we start. Maybe you might not be a news person where you like to read or watch or listen to news. That's okay. But I would say don't ignore it. Don't think that you could just close your eyes and blindly go after something. Without the strategy, without the necessary steps that are in place to be able to support your small business in the federal space, you will get lost and you will get washed up. We do have an accelerator, so I will plug this. We do have our ReadySwipe.gov 12-week government contracting accelerator. It is a small cohort of small businesses who are looking to either start, shift, or scale in government contracting. So I'm excited to be able to provide that as a resource, as a tool that you can go into. It is a 12-week closed 12-week program, and we go through everything from what are we going to do, like what can we offer, all the way through getting you ready to go ahead and submit to the government. So if that is somewhere where you want to start, I am definitely willing and ready. I'll make sure the link is somewhere in the description. We'll pin it on a comment, whatever the algorithm says to do. So we're going to post it, but you'll be able to access that and sign up. If it's not open, there is a wait list, and we do go through that wait list. And yeah, I just really want to see you win. I know you're going to hear that a lot throughout this season. I want to see you win. And if I can help contribute to that win rate, hey, guess what? Winner, winner, chicken dinner. I need to stop being cheesy. But y'all, I'm a little bit on a roll with these quotes, I think. But in all seriousness, yeah, we can't have this fear mentality. It is business. Take personal out of it. Let's get your business aligned and ready to do federal government contracting, regardless of who is in administration. So until next time, Bold Move Besties, I will catch you on the next episode. Oh, wait, before I sign off, I forgot this part. I got to give you your homework. So I gave you a boatload of resources. If you go to shebuiltsuccess.com/resources, you will find a lot of what I said. So the USA Spending.gov, FPDS, SAM, you will find a lot of those kind of resources and how to navigate through them. So your homework, Bold Move Bestie, is to go to shebuiltsuccess.com/resources and download the guide so that you can get started in federal government contracting. Now, until next time, I'll catch you on the next episode. Bye. Small business owner, consultant, or service provider ready to break into government contracting, but not quite sure where to start or who you can trust? Let's change that. The Ready Swipe Gov Accelerator is our 12-week group coaching program that has a one-on-one guided experience feel. Inside, you'll learn how to position your business, package your services, and create your credit card swipeable offer that makes it easier for government buyers to say yes. Plus, you'll have the strategies and tools to be able to navigate the process with confidence. Now, spots are limited, so go ahead and apply at readyswipegov.com, and we can get started to that little step forward in government contracting.